Hello guys, welcome back. So today's god of the day has been total roller coaster ride. I did a video for him, didn't like it, took it down. Long story short, god of the day is Babylonian Assyrian god Pazuzu. You can say god of wind, and of course you can go look up all the associations he has. Because a more important thing to focus on in the video is my relationship with him, which, I think people should talk about their relationship sometimes with gods, especially gods that when you go research, you're going to read the word demon and then you're going to faint, and I'm going to have to wake you up and say they don't mean that kind of demon. It's okay. The church borrowed from older religions. And even though the demon, and demon means spirit or wise one, or god of the underworld would be a better term for us to use. Gods of the underworld could have destructive powers. They could also turn those destructive powers away. And you always find that one that's special to you, and Pazuzu's certainly the one for me. I see his statues and I turn into a stupid ball of smiling mush because he is such a sweetheart. He's the gentlest deity I've ever worked with. He is loving and warm. He protects children and babies and women. He protects pregnant women. He protects unborn babies. He is absolutely darling. I adore him. And he has that sweet, gentle side to him, and he has the side where, yes, he was also, virility. So he has that side to him too. So he certainly enjoys going to the club with me and doing all the other stuff with me, and he will teach you not to have a sense of shame about that. These are a group of deities that are very good about teaching you not to have shame about natural human experiences. No, the thing with him is, it doesn't do him any good that, the most common form of representation you're going to see is the exorcist. And ironically enough, the way I met him was when I was a tiny dot of a girl. I saw the exorcist. And it was instant love. It was instant love from the moment I saw his statue because I thought he was a kitty cat man. I thought he was a kitty cat man with wings, and I love cats. He went with that because he's the protector of children. He was like, close enough. And in the ancient times, that's why we have statues, and they had small plaques, or they would have a small statue. You would put it in the child's room to protect them. So he's so sweet. I just want to hug him to death. I'm getting like his bashful energy. And yeah, he could have destructive sides, but when he's working with children, I mean, imagine a demon god of the underworld of wind and drought and destructive powers just sitting there. Not that we did this specifically, but imagine him sitting there. Imagine Pazuzu sitting there and letting a little girl put a tiara and like boa on him and have a tea party with him. He would totally do that. He adores children. And he adores children partly because they're not afraid to make mistakes, and they're pretty darn good at destroying things too. And he appreciates that because it's a sacred, holy function. We don't want it as humans. We want to live in a perfected world, blah, 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 blah. But we know now, for ecology standpoint, we need droughts. We need destructive rain. We need destructive wind. It helps clean up, the natural environment. We don't want them where we live, but we know we need them. So he is really super good to work with. I'm sorry I'm breathing real hard. Allergies, guys. I was fine when I did the first one, but then I was a perfectionist and took it down, and he's trying to wean me off of that. He's especially good to work with, but like in our case together, he can have this thing where he comes forward, he's very sophisticated, and he can look like his statue, or he can look like a man with his statue head, or he can look like, and I thought he was a lion. I didn't know it was supposed to be like a lot of people will say dog head. Or he can look like, I would say successful American businessman. He usually can look like whatever he wants, and a demon or a demon god or a god, whatever term you're used to, is not going to want you afraid of him. So he's going to look like something you'll find attractive and pleasing. And his biggest thing with working with me is he's really afraid that all of a sudden all that Catholic training is going to snap back into place, which it can from time to time, no matter how many awesome gods like Loki you work with, because Loki's been pushing me to make sure this is good. Loki loves Pazuzu. Loki adores Pazuzu. I have no idea why, but he adores him, and I count my blessings. Pazuzu is terrified that my Catholic teaching is going to snap back into place, and I'll start throwing holy water on him and screaming at him and driving him away. And because he loves me and because he loves all the people he works with, he would go away. And of course, to get attention, there are tons of exorcist quotes on YouTube, and who the hell do they pick on but Pazuzu? And it's not fair to him. You know, if I don't want to get into the complications of the religion, but basically, if a demon would be called into possession or would be called to a person's bedside or whatever in a temple or in a home, it would be to combat another demon. Demons didn't really hate people, it was just they had holy duties to carry out. So in a way, it's kind of a relief to know that if you got sick back in that time, well, they knew who was doing it and they knew who to get to counteract it. So it wasn't like this big mysterious illness thing. The temples were actually kind of the first hospitals, and you would go to see the specialist, and he was really good with healing. And he was often, and I hate to say this, he was called ugly. At least that's what modern scholars call him. They thought he was frightening, but I see him and I see like the cutest little thing. And yes, I've seen his statues. And I see the cutest, most adorable little ball of fluff. And I don't know how anybody could be scared of him. He's actually very tender. He's very frightened that his people are going to absorb Christian teaching. Not that Christian teaching itself or Jesus or anything is bad, but he doesn't want it taken away from his people. He's afraid of losing people that he forms attachments with because he loves you very much. Now, if you watch more than one video on demons, you're going to see most people get super intense and super dark, and they're like, "Arr." He doesn't act like that at all. He is very sweet. He's very gentle. He's very loving. He has this very sunny, cheerful personality, and he's very, I'd almost say borderline shy because, I was raised Roman Catholic. He was supposed to be the bad guy, but I instantly fell in love with him as a little child and never grew out of it. I absolutely adore him. He's adorable. I have tried to talk him into a statue, but he's terrified that if I get a statue, I will snap back suddenly to Roman Catholicism and be trying to drive him away. So that if you do work with him and you were raised Christian or raised Catholic or something, you might find he's one deity that has that fear. Loki has it too, and I think maybe that's why Loki sympathizes with him, because our deities do fear that older teaching of all other deities bad is going to come back and going to, separate them from us. And he would go away. He wouldn't attack you or hurt you if you got scared or something, but you shouldn't approach him if you are scared. Evil or demon in the sense they would use it in the ancient religion is not anywhere near what it would be in the Catholic religion. So just so you know. And overall, he's really sweet to work with. I try to be a perfectionist and I try to make this video over, and he got kind of upset because he didn't want me to go for perfection. He didn't want me to have to get all these ancient details in because you can look all this stuff up super easily. He is just... He's more worried about your relationship. When you're going to work with Pazuzu, he's more worried about your relationship. And obviously, you're probably going to say, well, if I'm not a woman, if I'm not pregnant, if I don't need virility, why would I work with him? It honestly depends. If you feel Pazuzu calling you, I would say that's reason enough to work with him. But I would say don't work with him from that exorcist, and that I saw that movie and got Pazuzu and got to have a wonderful experience was extremely fortunate for me. But it was so tiny, I had really no concept of evil. So you've got to get that through your head. I had no concept of this big, evil, scary demon. I just had a concept of this spirit that I really didn't even know what a demon was. This kitty cat man that formed this attachment to this girl, and I didn't know what was going on in that movie. I had very permissive parents that didn't care what I watched, so I saw when I was teeny tiny. So he does form strong attachments to people, but do not go at it from the exorcist sense. You don't have to desecrate a crucifix or do anything weird or do anything that involves blood or anything else. You don't have to do some kind of, satanic ritual or something, because that's something else entirely. You can have a little plaque, but if you're nervous about it, obviously the Exorcist games and movie and books didn't do him any favor, and neither does pulp culture. You don't have to. He's really good about just, coming into your life for a while and working with you, and then he seems to kind of pull back because he seems to be afraid of, spending too much time and having you maybe snap back into your original religion. With him, it seems to be a pretty important thing. He wants love, is what he wants. He wants love. He wants attention. More than worship, he wants love. He's never been interested with me in a candle or any other kind of offerings. We're working towards more offerings. And with me, since I recognize his virility, he will take appropriate offerings from, that context. Or if I wanted to recognize anything else about him, like he can bring destructive rain, but he can drive it away. He can bring destructive wind, but he can drive it away, so forth and so on. He can bring drought, but he can end it too. If I wanted to, offer him anything in that context, he would be good. No sacred animals that I've ever come across per se, but since he's a demon where the statue was a composite to show you, his attributes, you could say snakes, obviously. Look, he's giggling back here. Dogs. You could say cats because he doesn't seem to mind birds of prey like eagles or something like that, snakes, any kind of reptile. Um, whatever would call to you, whatever would make sense. I found he works good with other demon gods or gods or whatever term you want to use. Spirit is fine. Like Lilith, he seems to work with, and even if it's a underworld deity that he is traditionally opposed to in combats, he can work with them. They have a professional understanding. In the old days, it would have been seen as a battle, but I think at this point in time, it would be like if you would be calling on him to protect you from someone else. And traditionally, especially in this day and age, demons aren't like lurking around every corner waiting to get you. You don't have to worry, and they never did that in the beginning. It's kind of super complicated. If you would call on him for trouble with someone, like let's say you decided that your depression was a literal demon, you called on Pazuzu, they would just know to get out when Pazuzu showed up. They would just know to leave. Now, we have tried healing together and we've had various successes, and, obviously we don't have all the ancient text, so we don't know how to do it exactly, and we don't get the same results perhaps that the ancients got, but he can at least, if not bring a healing, then, at least reassure you and be very kind and nurturing and gentle. He just seems to want to see people happy, and I've been getting babies everywhere. He's been coming back into my life because he loves babies and children, and I'm like, why am I seeing babies and children everywhere? I know it's the holidays, but why babies and children? Babies and children he loves, so he can have that side of, like, he would sit there, like I said, he would play with the kids. So anything playful you could do too. If anything else would make you uncomfortable, anything playful, he would be very good about playing. Getting this big idea. I have this dog that he loves. I didn't know he liked it because it's, he said to have a dog's head classically. I have this dog dressed up like kind of like holidays that he loves. So like a little plush dog or something if you wanted to get him something sweet. A little plush animal or something. He's a real sweetheart. He's real gentle to work with. And he's the one that protects me along with Lilith, and they keep me away from that kind of. Some people, I don't want to judge how other people work, but some people make working with, the underworld gods this really dark, gothic-y, destructive, brooding thing, and he deliberately keeps me away from that because that's not That's not what they want. At least in my experience, when they want to work with you and work with you in a positive light, especially if you came from a religion where they were seen as evil and dark in the first place, they don't want to, usually be associated with that. So he's really good about working with children, working with babies, working with pregnant women, working with women in general. He's a real sweetheart. Just guiding you through the steps of leaving one religion and going into another. Protecting you, helping you sort through your feelings. He's a really good listener. He really is. And, he's good at being vulnerable. He kind of wears his heart on his sleeve, at least when I'm working with him, in that, he'll readily show emotion to you and he'll readily show you his concern that one day he's going to come see you and you will have snapped back the whole other way around and you will be dousing him with holy water and hitting him with the Bible and driving him away, and he will go away because he loves his people, because he's very gentle. But Pazuzu is awesome, so I figured I would do something for him. He's really gentle. I get the idea he doesn't care about the Exorcist movies one way or another. It's just you're not going to get a positive result. If you do approach any god that some people would say demon now or demon god or whatever you want to use, as this dark evil entity that's going to destroy all your enemies, you're probably gonna get your ass kicked. I will warn you. He's the sweetest, tiniest, most lovable sugar dot in the universe. But even tiniest, sweetest, most lovable sugar dot in the universe has his limits. I would not approach him to hurt people. I would not approach any entity to hurt people, because anything you're going to find willing to hurt people, you should find extremely suspect. So, proceed with caution. Do have respect. That's one thing I will agree with. Do have respect when you're dealing with these deities. They're not especially harsh or mean. They can be very loving and sweet and nurturing, especially once you get to know them. But, if you're going to treat them as this nasty, dirty secret or this evil source of power in the Christian sense, or this attack dog, it's not going to go any better than it would treating Loki like that. So, I hope you guys found that useful, but I wanted to try to do it again. And, we've just been having this kind of roller coaster of emotions because, when I started working with him, I did start in the worst way possible. I know I put iced tea in a core bottle, I'm evil. But we started in the worst way possible. I shouldn't have started from the Exorcist movies, but I was so tiny. I didn't know he was supposed to be bad and scary. I thought he was Kitty Man. So I was blessed. So any god that will start off with you with Kitty Man, and he was always warm, and it would seem like he'd be in one corner or another of my bedroom, and he'd always be protecting me. But the moment he thought that I was starting to understand I should be scared of him, he would disappear. He would come back later, but the moment he seems to sense any kind of fear or unease, he will disappear. He does not want to frighten people. He doesn't want people frightened of him. I have various songs come up today that I think was him talking to me, and I don't think I'll give you any links because I don't know if it was something like to pass on or it was just something him making passing commentary. Could have been Loki, because Loki jumps in the middle a lot. But, he doesn't want to be misunderstood. None of them do. So I would say just approach working with him with, with respect and with love. Especially good with healing. Especially good with healing your emotions over leaving, like I said, an old religion and going into a new one. And he will respect if it's just always a little too much to work with him. Kind and gentle and sweet, but he understands where most people are going to be coming from. It's very hard to overcome your original religious training sometime and learn to see them as loving and kind and nurturing and sweet. Okay, I think I've gone on long enough. It's Pazuzu. I want to talk for 20 more minutes, but I'll just start rambling on about nothing. But I really do love him. He really is sweet. I would never recommend anyone I thought was dangerous or that I thought had this hidden side to their personality. Does he have a destructive side? Yes, so does Loki, so does Odin, so does everybody. But They're normally never, ever, ever going to hurt their people. I can't think of anything that most people could do that would possibly, anger them enough to hurt you. So you're safe with them. You're safe with Pazuzu. You're safe with Inari, Loki, Odin, anybody I've ever mentioned. I would never recommend anybody to you like, oh yeah, this one's dangerous. I don't do that. So if you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye bye.